Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we'll be looking at shared preferences in your Android Studio project or application. What are shared preferences really? Shared preferences are a way for your app to keep a record or some sort of storage that a user has a particular maybe preference or particular setting, and just to keep that in the app, that the app knows and remembers or has a record of it. So whenever the user comes on again, reopens that application, they won't have to do all that they did before again. So let's get into it. All right, first let's start a new project. So we're starting a new project, and we can call this Remember. Alright, that looks like it's spelled correctly to me. Not sure, but it looks correct to me. Alright, let's click next. And let's click next. And let's start as usual. And once you've been following this series, you know we're starting from an empty activity. So next. Alright, let's call our first activity A. Main A anyway. Let's click finish. Alright, so our project starts to be created, and as I said before, shared preference is a way for your application to keep a record, to save a setting. It's basically a method of storage that your application can store information that it can retrieve at a later date or even in a later activity. So how I'll be demonstrating, there are many ways to demonstrate it, but what we'll be doing really is I'll be creating two separate activities. One will save the information from the user, and then we'll use it to complete the maybe a text or a text box inside the next activity. So if you don't know how to create an activity, please check out my other videos which I try to make it clear, because I'll probably will be going through that very fast this time. So alright, let's get into it. So our first activity is here, so let's create a next activity. So let's just go on file, new. As I said, there won't be much explanation where this is concerned. Activity, and as usual I love my empty activities, and this one will just be called second, so it's just second, and finish. Alrighty, why we chose to do that is because when you create a new activity, you not only get your Java class file, but you also get an XML layout. So it stops you from actually having to create those yourself, which can be tedious and probably would make this this tutorial even harder and longer than it should be. So let's start first with our main activity, XML, which is right under your layout. You should know where that is by now. Alrighty, let's get rid of this annoying hello world. We don't need that. Alright, so let's just go for edit text, something that stores information, and let's pull this one that says person's name, and let's pull the same person's name and put it right under that. So you should have two edit text fields which says person's name. So change the first one, you can keep it at name, and I'm going to change my idea to n text. Alright, so n text. Alright, let's see if this one was changed. N text, good. And for the second one, we're just going to change, I'm going to change mine to word, and I'm going to change the ID to w text. Alright, starts to look good. Alright, so we need a button, or we need two buttons actually, and that's what we're going to be putting on this one. So let's look for a button right here, and there are many ways to do this. You could actually go over into the text section and create it there. Some people like to do that, makes them look like experts. I won't be doing that. I'll be doing it the nice graphic simple way. I have nothing to prove. So let's change one of these buttons to any button of your choice. change it, the text on it to save. I'm changing mine to save. And the button, as usual, I'm going to call this SBut. So as for the save button, all right, it's asking you to update your UML. You can do that. And in the other stage, what we basically do is that next button, we're gonna call it, let's call it the next button. Next button. I think that's spelled okay. Okay, that's too many T's. Alright, next button. And just call it nbut. Alright, all of these, we're just doing the layouts for early, and let's go over to our next activity, which our second activity, XML, and we're going to be changing some stuff on that. First thing we'll be doing is we're going to add a giant text field. So let's use our large text and let's pull that over, and then we're going to add a button as well, but this is going to be a load button, and I'm going to tell you the reason behind all of this after I finish with this button. So text button, and on this button we are going to be saying load, and the button ID could be L button or LBut. Alright, LBut. Alright, cool. Let's just pull down that text section a bit. Alright, so we're done with all our designs, so we're going to be putting in the logics for what's going to happen, and this is what you really want to know. The reason we did it this way is because, as we said before, we want the user to fill out some information at the first layout, their name and maybe a word, whatever word they want to do. Then they're going to hit that save button, and it will save it and remember it, because your app will store it. Next, the next button will only show you, just for this tutorial, that when you go to the next section and you press load, the application does have a record of that saved information, and this can be used to do any stuff you want to do. All I'm here to do is to show you how you use your shared preferences, which is, I would call it a better name. I wouldn't call it shared preferences, I'd call it saved preferences, but hey, I didn't invent Android, so we're going to work with whatever they say you should call it. Anyways, let's get to the logics now. Alright, so let's start from the main activity, XML. Let's make some references to those buttons that we created, as well as those edit text. So let's start off by doing the edit text. So edit text, there it is. Wow. And let's call this edit text name, and let's call the next edit text, because it's two of them, word. Yeah, I know they're not so original, I get it, but hey, that's how it is sometimes. And let's make a reference to our buttons. So button, and the first button we're going to make a reference to, saying we should import it. The first button we're going to make a reference to is our save button. So let's just call this save. And let's make our next reference to our next button. A next reference to our next button. Couldn't even make that up if I tried. Next button. Alright, so we have our save button and our next button. Alright, so let's bring them in. So inside our onCreate, we're going to instantiate or bring these buttons to life. Alright, that we reference over here, as well as our edit text. So first things first, edit. Let's start with our edit text. So name equals edit text cast find by ID. Where's my find by ID? Find, okay, find view by ID. There you go. r.id, and this is just textbook stuff if you know what we're talking about. So we look and we are adding end text. That should be it, comma, and let's add the word equals edit text, And the same thing applies. Find view by our ID, r.id dot, and we're looking for word text, so that's w text. Alright, whatever you named it, that's what you should actually reference. So if you named yours Superman, please reference Superman or whatever you referenced. I reference mine that way, so that's how it is. And if you're getting confused anywhere, just rewind or pause or look back at what we named the buttons and the edit text. Anyways, now we're going to reference our button. So the save button, save equals button. Sometimes I never get buttons correctly. Button, there we go. Whoa. Stay in school, kids. Learn to spell. r.id, and we're looking for the button. So this is the save button. We called it sbut. So sbut right there. And let's just put in our next button. So that would be n button. There we go. Equals button find view by ID r.id equals, and it's n but. There we go. Alrighty. Alright, so now that we have everything referenced, what we need to do now is to create or save preferences, and to make sure that whenever we click on that save button, it does save the information that is stored in those edit texts. So let's start by making an unclick for our save button. So save button would be, start by saying save button dot set on click listener, and just say new capital O, and you see that first long drawn out stuff right there. Just split that, and Android does all the writing for you. So if you're confused, just check out one of my other tutorials. I'm pretty sure you see it around the place or in a playlist or something. Alright, so right in here, this is where we are going to start. This is where the main thing begins. So first we're gonna say shared preferences. Alright, and it's capital S for shared preferences, and you give it a name. So I'm gonna call mine shared pref equals get shared preferences, and hold on, get shared preferences. There we go. And it takes a name and it takes a mode. A little bit on that. That name that it's going to take will be the name of whatever it's going to be saved in, that file name or whatever. And you don't have to give it an extension, because it's automatically going to choose an extension which is that you need. So it's going to save it in an XML format. So don't worry about giving this file an extension. Just write whatever name you want. So I'm going to call mine Warcraft. Alright. I could name it anything else, but I'm calling mine Warcraft. Then comma, and then it asks you for the mode, which would be mode dot, and so it's actually mode, come on, it should come up, mode private, mode underscore private, it's right there. And mode private simply means that nobody else can access that file but the app, and no other app, which is no other app can access it. So it just stays with the app, and it stays inside the app, and all the good stuff. For security reasons, I always go with that. You can choose others, but I would recommend going with mode private. Anyways, so now that we have our shared preferences, now we have to add an editor. Some of these things you just have to write it that way, and it's called editor my spelling is so wrong. Editor, so it will be shared preferences dot editor, and you can call this editor, just call it editor. It works as well. Editor equals now call your shared pref, that's what I called mine, dot edit. Okay, all right, almost finished some of this. So shared preferences dot editor, and we called our editor the editor, equals shared preference dot edit. All right, so let's call this now editor, which is what we created, dot put string, because we're going to put string. You could put numbers, you could put booleans, you could put a lot of stuff, but since our information given to us in our edit text is going to be strings, we're going to say put string, and it takes a key pair value. So it takes a name and then it takes a value, it takes a key and then a value. So all right, that shouldn't be new to you if you're not new to Java. So it's like a dictionary really. So basically I'm going to call this name. Could call this anything I want, but I'm just going to call this name. All right, and what we're going to be passing in is basically we're going to look right up here, and you see that name, we're going to say name dot get text. So we're going to get all the text out of it, and you see that red line, just to get rid of that, we just call toString from it, and that's it. That's calm. That's how you get that going. And let's go again, editor dot put string, and we're gonna call this word, because that's what we're taking, basically just some word, some random word, and we're gonna say word dot get text, and we're gonna call toString. Alrighty, so basically that puts all of those good stuff inside that situation. Yep, so we're gonna put in the name, and we're gonna put in the word and all of that. Okay, so after we've done all of this, we need to notify the user that information has been saved, because there's no way they'll just probably be pressing that save button over and over again, and they're like, this thing doesn't work. So we need to give them an idea that it's been saved. So before that, let us create a toast message. So let's create a toast message. And if you don't know what a toast message is, it's that little message that pops up when you're using your phone or whatever, and it tells you a status of something. Alright, and if you don't know how to do toast messages, just simply look for the other video. I've covered that already. So I'm going to call my toast message what am I going to call this? I'm just going to call it TOPS, tops. I don't know why I call it that, because I don't know. It does seem like a good thing right now. So toast message tops equal toast.make text. And what does this take? Alright, we covered this already, so I'm not going to be going into it. I'm just going to be typing. Please check out that other video if you're lost. Oh, this is not a string. Why am I writing it as a string? Maybe I need to check out my own video. Got this. Alright, and what we're going to tell it is saved, or info saved. Let's just tell them, say info saved. So yeah, we're going to notify them and tell them that the info has been saved, and the length of this will be short. I don't think we need it on the screen for forever. And that's the end of that button. So we have the save button and all of that good stuff. So let's just simply create that next button. So within the same class, and you'll know you're in the same class because just put it on one of those curly braces and you'll see the sign that comes up that tells you that you're still in your on create. So just simply go down, and let's just make that next button. That next button should simply carry you to the other activity. So the next button is end button, And we're doing the same on click. We're doing on click. So it's set on click listener. Yep. Not going to spend a lot of time telling you that, because you know how that is if you've seen one of my other videos that speaks on that. Everything I'm doing here has been referenced already in my previous videos, so please make sure you have seen those. I don't like when people get lost, because I don't like getting lost. Getting lost, you can't find your way back. Alright, so for this one, all we're going to be doing is creating an intent to get to the next screen. So let's start to say intent. Intent. Okay, spelling intent incorrectly. Intent, let's just say go there equals, and we're gonna say new in intent. Okay, why am I getting error under my intent? Oh, there's a T missing from my intent. Funny. Intent equals new intent. Alright, so first thing, they need to know the context of this thing. So I'm gonna say main, because we're in main A. Yeah, I named it weird, right? Main A dot. Why am I getting a red line? Let's see if my spelling is off again. Ah, there we go. Sometimes it's the spelling. And this, and our intent is to move to second dot class. Yep, that's our intentions, is to move from this main to the second class, and that's pretty much that. And then we just start that activity, or start that intent. Start activity, which would be that intent, which is go there. There we go. So we're good. Alright, we could give this a try now to see what goes on here. So let's just give a try. We're not done yet, guys. I'm just showing you what we've done so far, because I don't want you guys to be typing, and there's not, you know, there's no visual evidence. Yes, struggling for words here. There would be no visual evidence of what's happening so far. So you need to see what we've done so far. We are by no means done, but I'm just showing you. I hate those tutorials that when you're doing them, they're typing and you're like, oh my god, where am I going with this thing? So I'm to make sure that we're not doing one of those, I've started the emulator to show you what we've done so far. Okay, I probably might just pause while this emulator is starting up, because this tutorial is already long enough. You don't need to wait until my emulator starts up. So let me pause and then come back when my emulator is up already. Okay, my emulator should be up now. Should be loading my application. Still waiting on it. Wow, I wish this thing was faster. Still waiting. Alright, our application is coming up, although we are seeing just glorious white screen in front of us. It's coming up. Anyways, let me recap. So what we basically did, there we go. So what we've done so far is we have our name here, our word here, and our save button. So whenever we put our name in and our secret word here, and we just click save, and the next button should work. So the next button brings us to this stage, which has a load that we haven't finished yet. Alright, so let's get back to work. Alright, back to work. So we're basically done with all the information inside the first activity. So let's get into the second activity, and this is where we retrieve the information that we've already stored. So okay, so let's make some references to that text, that blank text that we have, which would be, let's look over our second activity here, that text view. The name of that text view, we didn't give it a name, so I'm giving it a name now. So please give your second activity XML, that text view that you created, let's give it a name. Let's call it info text, and this is where all the information will be. All right, so let's get now to our second activity Java file. All right, so inside our onCreate, let's make a reference to that info text. So let's just say text view, and let's just call this info. All right, and let's make a reference to that button, so which would be our load button. So button, and let's just call this lbut again. All right, so let's bring that into our onCreate. So inside your body of your onCreate, let's just say info, which is our text view, info equals text view, and let's say find view by id r dot id dot, where is our thing we're looking at for it? It should be text view. All right, there it is. It's info text. There we go. Info text. There you go. And let's make a reference to that button. So lbut equals the button, find view by id r dot id dot, and the button should be lbut, which is the loading button. All right, now we need to make sure that when we click on that loading button, it does something. So let's write the onClick for the loading button. So that's lbut dot set, you know it by now, onClick new onClick, capital O, onClick, and it just writes out everything else. And in the body of that onClick, this is where we do the work, where we retrieve all of that stuff. So let's start again writing our shared preferences. So that's shared with a capital H, shared preferences, and I'm gonna call mine SHAREDF. I don't know why I call it F, but hey, it just seems like a good thing to do. And we are saying get shared preferences. What you're going to put into this now is, remember the name of that file. Mine was Warcraft, and that's what I'm going to put here. So it's Warcraft. Pretty sure that's how I spelled it. And the write again, once again, we're going to write the mode. So mine was mode.private. There we go. So we're ready to retrieve it. So to retrieve all of that good stuff, we simply create some strings. All right, let's just say string name equals, and now we're going to say string name equal, we should make an editor for this, you know. Okay, then again, we don't need an editor. So all we need to do is write shared pref, or shared f, where I have here dot get string, and give them the name of the string and the value. So the name of the string that we are getting back right here is name. That's what we called it over there. And if you don't remember what you called it, just simply just go back to your main right here and just look what you call it. One was name, the other one was word. All right, so name and word. All right, so name, and it must be written exactly that it can retrieve it. And what we do, we pass in an empty string right here in the second as the value to let it work. So just put that in, one of those quirky things. And some people normally have a default value to stop it from crashing, but I'm not going to do one right now because that could lead to some level of confusion. So all you need to do is put your name, which is your key or whatever the key is, and just leave the value empty. It will find it, believe me, it will. And the next one would be word, and that would equal shared pref or shared f dot get string, and the next one was called word, and once again nothing for the value, but you have to put something there as it won't work. So I put an empty string, I put for the next one. So that's pretty much how that works, and let's just simply load it in. So we're gonna say the info text or whatever it is, that empty blank text thing, we're gonna say info dot set text. That's set text, and for the set text we're just going to write anything you want to write. So we're retrieving it, so I'm going to be saying this was retrieved, and we're gonna simply just concatenate what comes next. This was retrieved, and let's just pass in that name. Alright, let's put a space right here, not because we have to, just because we want to, just for readability point, plus word, and that's it right there. Everything is done. So let's load that into the emulator, and let's just finally look how that works. Okay, we're waiting for it to update our app. Okay, I'm humming, right? Yep, I'm humming. Alright, so our user starts to use our app, and let's just say his name is Sean, and his super word is I don't know what we're gonna call it, Superman thing. Yep. Okay, that's spelled incorrectly, but who cares? Anyway, Superman thing. And alright, he's now going to click that save button. So remember that save button that we spent this length of time doing? Now you're going to see why we did it with the intent and the toast. So he clicks the save button. Oh, guys, sorry, one thing I forgot. If you're clicking that save button and nothing comes up, I forgot. In the let's go right back to our main activity, and where you have the toast, I just forgot to mention, simply put whatever your name of your toast is and put show. I just remembered that. So it should have toast.show. If you don't put this, you won't see a thing. So just remember, go back to your main activity. I forgot that when I just pressed the button, I realized it. Just go back and put tops or whatever you called yours. Mine was tops.show, and that's it. Oh, and guys, if you see your editor, your second activity not showing you the word that was displayed, remember to put editor in your main activity A. Remember this is very important, to put editor dot commit. Very important. That's whatever you've done will be saved. So you put editor dot commit. So back to our second activity. Alright, so you should have shared preferences that get string, and that's stored into a string, and the word is also stored. So let's run and see what happens when we run our emulator. So let's just click and see. Alright, there we go. So what we do is, let's just say, alright, I have some information here. Let's try it. Sean. Let's just say the great king, whatever that is, and let's just say saved. Click the save, you see info save. Let's click next. Alright, this is trying to write stuff. Let's click next and then load, and you should see there was that blah blah blah, lot of gibberish, but this is coming directly from what you saved, which was your save preferences. And that's what it is, guys. Try not to make any mistakes, just look at the tutorial, and yeah, that should work. And that's what save preferences are, and that's how you do them. And thank you for staying with me this long. And if you like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share it to persons you think this would be helpful for, and thank you for watching.